Hello, everybody! Now I'm going to teach you guys how to use synthetic division and quadratic formula to find all the roots of a polynomial function. All right, looking at this first example, one thing you have to know is that the fundamental theorem of algebra basically says that the highest degree tells me how many roots I'm going to have. All right, so just like what we did in the previous videos for synthetic division, we're going to take our divisor, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. So when I take x plus 1 equal to 0, solve for x, I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides, and that's going to give me -1. So my root is -1. That's going to be the number I put in the box for my synthetic division. And once again, the coefficients of my dividend came from the numbers in front of the variable. So since this particular problem begins with an imaginary 1, that was my first coefficient, and then -3, that -1, and 3 as my constant. That's where these coefficients came from. All right, to do synthetic division, remember, you're going to multiply, add straight down. Multiply, add straight down. I'm going to bring down my first number, multiply that 1 times my root of -1, which gives me -1. And then I'm going to add straight down. -3 plus -1 equals -4. I'm going to multiply that -4 times the root, which would give me +4. Add straight down, that gives me 3. Multiply that 3 times the root, that will give me -3. Add straight down, that gives me 0. So that means I have no remainder. Now, I'm going to label these 3 coefficients as A, B, and C. Those will be the numbers that I plug into the quadratic formula. And just in case you forgot it, I wrote it right here on top. All right, it starts off with -b. And as you can see, my b value is a -4. So when I plug it into the formula, it's going to look like this in the beginning. But you know, a negative times a negative is positive. So let's go ahead and start off with +4 plus or minus square root. My b is -4 squared minus 4 times, and remember my a was 1 and my c is 3. All over 2 times 1, which is my a. Now, when you're doing quadratic formula, you have to remember everything that's under the square root is what you will type in your calculator. And when you do that, you get 4. So I'm going to leave that 4 under the square root, bring everything else down, and the denominator is just going to be 2. And we know that the square root of 4 is a perfect square. It equals 2. So what I'm really looking at is 4 plus or minus 2 over 2. And then when I break that down into 2 separate fractions, I'm looking at 4 plus 2 over 2 and 4 minus 2 over 2. Now the 4 plus 2, which is 6, divided by 2 equals 3. So that's my other root. And then the 4 minus 2, which is 2, divided by 2 gives me 1. So that's the other root. So all of the roots for this particular polynomial will be x equals 3. X equals 1, and we can't forget about the original root that we found, which was -1. Oops. And that's it.